Today is another day to be grateful for. Another chance to appreciate the value of being healthy and alive. Another chance to learn how lifestyle can positively impact our health outcome and quality of life. Welcome to another episode of Quality Life, Your Choice. Mga kapaglaong, kamusta po kayo? Maayong aga. Good morning po sa ating lahat. We praise the Lord for this another privilege where we can be able to come together and learn quality life, mga kapaglaom. And we know for sure that the Lord is preparing something new to all of us today because the Lord has given us a guest who will continue to deliver the topic about celebration, mga kapatid, mga kapaglaom. And of course, today, we would love to know how have you been? Kamusta po kayo, mga kapaglaom? And we hope na wherever you are today, you're appreciating that we are alive, and we hope that this will inspire us to do more for the glory of our Father in heaven. And of course, this morning, we have this new program, mga kapaglaom, which is the Tasty Life. Tasty Life, mga kapaglaom, is about a program where we have kapaglaom Noelisa Binyas and kapaglaom Tita Eden Magkanam, who will be sharing their expertise in cooking. And today we will talk more. They will talk more about on doing juice, mga kapaglaom, specifically orange juice. And right after this Tasty Life, of course, we have Dr. Glenn Maipa, our retired health director from Central Philippine Union Conference, who will talk about environment. So let's just come together and learn for this, mga kapaglaom, because I know for sure gid nga ang Ginoo may ginaaman sa aton nga tanan, kag amon gid ginadayaw ang Ginoo tungod sa imo presensya. Gani, mga kapaglaom, stay tuned for this second episode of our Tasty Life with kapaglaom Noelisa Banier and kapaglaom Tita Eden Magkanam about the orange juice.
Hello mga kapaglaom! Welcome to our new episode, Tasty Life. Tasty Bites for a Healthy Life. Ini ang inyo kapaglaom, Net, kag akon may kaupod subong ang isa ka medical missionary, kapaglaom Eden Magkanam. So mga kapaglaom, before kami ma-excite sa pag-share sa inyo sang aton nga recipe for today, let's have a short of prayer by our kapaglaom Eden.
Okay, let's pray. Balaan kag may gugmao namon nga amay nga yara ka sa kaitasan sa mga langit, ginatugyan ko sa imo ang amon nga pag-aobrahon sa sini nga tion kabay ang imo nga blessing mangin sa amon kag ini nga juice makahatag sang nutrition sa tagsa sa amon kag makaayos ang amon nga sakit. Dito na akong ginaampo kad pasalamatan sa ngalan ni Ginoong Hesus. Amen.
Amen. So, kamusta ka, Tita Eden?
Oh, I'm so very excited to share sa inyo sa sini nga tion ang paghatag sa inyo sang pagtudlo sa inyo sang juice, no? Kag ini sang juice sa bunga aton nga pag-aobrahon, inigid makahatag sa aton sang medyo pag bulig. Sakto gid sa aton nga mayara nga magsulod nga nutrisyon sa aton nga lawas, no?
Wow.
So kay ang aton nga ingredients sa sini nga hapon,
Yes, sang nakita ko diri nung aton nga ingredients do makita lang gid ini siya sa aton nga mga tindahan. So kung nakita nyo mga kapaglaom, ari diri subong ang carrot, ang rabanos, lemon, celery, and ginger, mga kapaglaom. But, ang twist ng aton nga juice, mga kapaglaom, is the buko juice water.
Yes.
So, mabalaan nyo na karon kung
Ah.
paano tani obrahon. So,
Aha.
masugod na kita sang
Okay.
aton nga
May hatag lang ako
juice.
gamay nga tips net para sa aton nga mga nagatanaw sa aton subong. Ang aton nga buko juice, no, mayroon ini siya nga natural nga ingredients nga electrolyte. Pag natural man siya nga dextrose.
Wow.
So manami gini siya i-combine sa aton nga
Juice.
mga vegetables kay masulod gid ina sa aton dayon nga lawas, no. So ang aton gali nga rabanos nami gid ini siya sa baga, okay? Kung wala ka mo sang buko, pwede gid ini nga pure man, no? Pure lang siya. Okay? So, ari na mga kapaglaom.
So, rabanos, mga kapaglaom. Ako, first time ko ni siya, no, nga mabalaan nga ang rabanos pwede mabutang or
Aha.
mahimo sa juice.
Nami gid siya mga kauturan sa bilang isa ka missionary na tistingan ko na gid ni ang rabanos nga nami siya gali sa kung
Wow.
gaubo ka.
And the last is ang aton nga carrot. So, gabulig ako sa imo, tita.
Okay.
So, I hope kamo mga kapaglaom, kung kamo gusto nga i-try ang ining recipe, pwede gid ninyo ini nga i-try para nga matilawan nyo kung ano ka namin.
Kag para ma-test nyo si kung sino dira ang nagaubo, no? Iubrahan nyo ini nga juice para mabalaan nyo kung effective gid man ini bala siya or hindi. Okay?
So, paano bitita Eden kung wala sila sang juicer sa ilabalay?
Okay. Kung wala ka mo juicer nga amo sini sa inyo nga balay, no? Pwede nyo magamit ang blender. Pero, kung magamit ka mo sang blender, ang inyo nga buko juice, i-ano niyo siya,
Tubig?
i-chilled, no? Para nga maprotektahan ang enzymes ang inyo nga mga gulay nga pagaubrahon nyo juice. Kag, much better pagid kung ang inyo man nga gulay, itinloan nyo anay mayo, tapos ibutan nyo sa ref, no? Kay para
I-chill man,
paggaling,
no?
oo, para paggaling mo, protektado gid ang inyo nga enzyme nga which is amo nang kinahanglan para sa aton nga lawas.
So, ang aton gali subo nga juice is orange juice.
Aha.
Kaya tungod sa iyang nga color nga orange because of the carrot. So, ang carrot, ito to damo. Dito sang nutrients na makuha sa carrot, no?
So, tapos na ang aton nga pag-ubra. Kag inyo nakita, bala mga kapaglaom nga, may ara pa kita sang ano
Pulp.
sang pulp. Kag daw ka nami, gid siya butang man sa aton nga butangan ta ulaan ti siya sang buko juice para nga makuha pagid ang
iya nga.
nutrients dira nga ari diri.
Wow.
So para hindi kanugon, no? So patyunta na yung aton nga. Okay.
Kag ato na siya butangan sang buko water.
Mhm.
So kung inyo nakita mga kapaglaom, ini siya pure juice, ini siya. Wala kita sang tubig nga ginbutang, kag wala man sang sugar nga gin-add.
Yes.
So it is all natural.
Mm.
Wow,
So,
so
nami
nagagwa
pagid
na gid
siya.
ang iyang nga color nga orange. Doon na-excite man ako, Tita Eden, no, sa pagtilaw
Yes.
sa nga mo ni nga juice. Kaya daw first time ko na-encounter nga
Yes.
may ara nga rabanos ang aton
Oho,
nga juice.
oo.
And so mga kapaglaom, si Tita Eden gali, isa siya sa mga nagabulig, sa mga kung may sakit, kag nagabulig siya, pinaagi sa pag-ubra sang juice, no, nga makabulig sa mga tawo nga may ginabatsyag, tita,
Aha.
para nga makahatag man sa ila sang maayo nga panglawas kag maka-recover sang ila nga ginabatsa. Mga nagamasakit nga hindi sila makakaon sing maayo. So, ang juicing is one way nga makabulig sa ila.
Kag ang juicing, amo ini siya nga kung nagamasakit ka, syempre, hindi mayo kagaling imulawas, no, kay maluya ka. So, in a way, makabulig sa imo sa paghatag sa nutrition. At the same time, makarelax ang imo nga tummy.
Wow.
Okay? Kag
So,
hindi ka matamaan bala sang pagluya, kay may ara ikaw ang ginainom, especially may ara siya nga buko. So, makahatag sa imo sang electrolyte, kag energy.
So, amo na
Very
ni siya ang
good.
aton nga juice, kag may ari kita diri nga lemon,
Okay.
ubuson ta ni ang lemon.
Okay, ibutang
Okay,
tang
so
lemon.
makapaglaom, aring aton nga lemon juice. So makapaglaom, human na ang aton nga orange juice.
Yes.
Kag excited man kami sang aton nga mga manugtilaw sa bunga hapon. Okay, so may we call on sang aton nga mga okay, isa lang gid ang matilaw subong or duha.
Okay,
Para nga
kag-
tilawan no, ang
Magnet,
aton nga.
before kita magpatilaw sa aton nga manugtilaw, may tips lang gamay nga
Sige.
kung i-consider tani nga bulong, syempre, magtawag nga bulong, hindi siya muna kanamit. Pero bangod kay may buko, medyo makaya ta na nga, imnon especially ang rabanos nga, tama siya kaayo ka, kahang, no? So kami, ara kita nga buko juice, no? Nagano siya?
Siyang maneutralize sang flavor sang aton nga
Okay,
juice.
sige, tawagan ta aton nga
Okay,
manugtilaw
so
na.
ari nang aton nga manugtilaw for the first time. Nga matilaw sang aton nga juice. Charan!
Hello, mga kapaglaom.
Our friend from Amazing Facts. Now,
Okay.
friend from Hope Channel. Western
Praise
Visayas.
God.
So praise God for Kuya Rande kay siya ang aton nga manugtilaw for orange juice. So ready ka na ko? Tira, mahuwad ako diri. Kag,
Shots lang,
one
no?
shot glass
Para-
for you. Dapat raw ini nga, kita duha, sige. Kaya actually first time ko man yung mga pagkapaglaom no, sa pag-taste. So, cheers.
Cheers.
Wow! Okay. Mm.
Hindi siya bulong.
Hindi siya
Wala.
bulong.
Oh, praise God.
Namit siya actually. Masaburan ko ang rabanos, pero
Yes.
hindi siya ganun ka...
So, may kick lang siya.
Yeah, may kick lang siya nga.
Oh, praise God.
Parang hindi mo mabalaan.
Ang buko ang nag-neutralize.
Yeah, ang buko ang
praise
nag-neutralize
God.
mga kapaglaom. So, kung kamo excited nga makatilaw sang aton nga orange juice, pwede nyo gid ini matry sa inyo nga panimalay mga kapaglaom. Kag ano gani tita, ang imo nga madugang pa?
Okay, kag ini mga kapaglaom, kung may ara kita nga juice nga ginainom perme, makabuli gini sa nutrition sa aton nga lawas. Especially kung ikaw nagadali, no? Kay hindi ka gawa makakaon. So, the best nga option para nga maghatag sa aton sa nutrients, amo ang juices nga atong pag-aobrahon.
Okay, so ang juice naton tita nga ginaobra pila ini kaadlaw nga magtiner sa ref para nga makabalo man ang aton nga mga
Okay.
kapaglaom.
Kag ang ini nga juice, magtiner ini siya 2 to 3 days.
So,
pero
pwede nila
kung-
ma-consume up to 3 days ang amo ni nga juice.
Yes. Oo,
Okay.
muna siya.
So-
Kag, ini mga kapaglaom, maghahatag sa ato sang hydration. So, kung hydrated ang aton nga body, siyempre mag-glow man kita, no? Like sa aton sa mga visitor, sa
Wow,
aton nga
glowing.
nag-glow, sa aton nga host.
Ang sekreto, ano?
Juice.
Wow, or healthy food. Wow, so we are blessed mga kapaglaom to share sa inyo sang aton nga recipe which is orange juice. Kag ululupod naman kita sa next naton nga pag-aobrahon nga juice diri lang sa Tasty Life. Tasty Bites for a healthy life.
So much Kapaglaom Net and Kapaglaom Tita Eden for sharing that juice mga Kapaglaom. And you know what? I have learned gali nga when we take this juice mga Kapaglaom, hindi lang siya bulong, kundi magpag-glow up pagid sa aton gali mga Kapaglaom. So if you want to try this at home with these recipes, please don't forget to take a video and send it to Hope Channel Western Visayas because we want to feature you as well doing the same recipe. So mga Kapaglaom, and of course, kung ano po yung benefits na nakuha ninyo while drinking this. Kasi sabi nila kanina, ang pag-inom po ng orange juice, makakatulong din po for recovery, especially kung may ara kita nga mga sakit. Thank you so much. And please catch them again live next Tuesday, mga Kapaglaom, for another episode of Tasty Life. Tasty bites for a healthy life. Yes, and thank you so much. And we're not yet done, mga Kapaglaom, because we will be talking about environment. As part of our celebration series, we have talked about choices, we have talked about our exercise, liquid the last week, and of course, we will be talking today about environment. So, ano po yung magiging cause ng environment sa ating health, especially in having a quality life. And joining us today to have this good news for all of us is of course Dr. Glenn Maipa. Doc, thank you and welcome to Quality Life, Your Choice.
Welcome back to Quality Life, Your Choice. And today we have a very interesting topic. And I'm sure you are all aware of what's happening today in our world. Our topic for today is on the environment. And I believe that each of you are interested to look into what your environment is all about. Now, if we say about environmental awareness, let us tell ourselves that we live in a beautiful world, even though this world has problems today. But even though when God created this world, it is suitable for human life. So to our viewers, to our listeners, to our staff here at the Hope WVC, and to anywhere you are listening right now, welcome back to Quality Life, Your Choice. Now, when we say environmental awareness, this concerns more about a suitable environment, the appropriate balance of air, water, and soil. Now, if we look forward, we could add a temperature, we could add the sun, we could add the fauna and the flora. And this compose our environment. If I ask you the question, where do you live right now? If probably you will give me an address or something which is familiar to me, then probably I could assess where or what kind of environment do you have. Now, if you go home tonight, it will be dark, and tomorrow when you wake up in the morning, look around your place. How is your environment? Is it suitable for growth, for living? Is it the kind of environment that you would like to have or to acquire? Now, according to earth.org, okay, there are 15 most significant environmental issues of 2023. Now, we don't have time to discuss all of this, but let me go over it quite quickly. Of course, we have the global warming from fossil fuels. Now, if you are driving a car and you're using gas or gasoline or diesel, then you are a contributor to the global climate problem, just like me. Number two, poor governance. That means to say many of our policies, our laws, and our other things that concern the laws regarding our environment probably are either non-existent or not implemented properly, or worse, they could be violated. Of course, the third one here is food waste. A lot of our food that we produce on the farm and brought to the market many times are just thrown away as food waste. The fourth one, loss of biodiversity. When we talk about biodiversity, some time ago I was reading about an article of the birds, the animals, and some other plants that are becoming extinct. And when we say extinct, they could no longer be found anywhere in the world, or their genus, or their line, or their actual existence on this planet could no longer be documented. So they are considered extinct. And then we have the plastic pollution. Of course, we're familiar with this. The deforestation. Now, the Philippines is facing, just like any other country, on the problem of deforestation. Then we have the air pollution and the melting of the ice caps. We don't have an ice cap here, but if we visit the North Pole and the South Pole, there is an alarming rate of the disappearance of glaciers. Some of the glaciers in South America, even in North America and Canada, many of them are disappearing. And then we have the agriculture problem. We have the greenhouse gases. When we talk about greenhouse gases, these are the gases that come from the animals in our ranch. Like, for example, the cows, the poultry, the pigs, and some other. But I think it's more of the dairy industry. Because according to that article in Science, the cows, whenever they belch, they emit methane. Now, methane is a gas that causes global warming. And then number 10, which concerns all of us who love to go fishing or swimming in the ocean, is the acidification of the ocean. Just a couple of days ago, I was reading an article about the coral reefs that are dying. Some of them are being revived, but many are dying. 11, we have the food and water insecurity. Now, with the increase of our population today, food and water becomes a problem. The 12th one, fashion and textile waste. According to earth.org, 92 million tons of textile waste are being thrown in the landfills. 13, overfishing. Now, we find today a lot of our favorite, probably fishes or groups of fishes in the ocean are becoming rare, or the catch is becoming little and little. That means to say more efforts but less catch. 14th is cobalt mining. Now, if we take the word here, cobalt, we just talk about mining, we find today that there are a lot of environmental issues about mining. And then, of course, we have the 15th, which is called soil degradation. Whenever there is mining, there is overfishing, and any of this, there is soil degradation. If we study deeper into the oceans, what actually lately has caught the attention of scientists is that a lot of fishes and sea mammals have washed ashore. I think last week there were how many dolphins who washed ashore in what is place now? New Zealand. And scientists were questioning why so many mass suicides or beaching of these sea mammals and fishes from the deep. Is it probably because of pollution? What kind of pollution is our planet facing today? Now, of course, first one, very significant here, is the pollution of water and the air, the destruction of natural habitats, and massive industrialization threaten the continuation of life as we know it. Therefore, environmental awareness is important to the maintenance of health. So now each of us are confronted with the problem. You may be living in the top of the mountain, or in the middle of the sea, or in a forest, or in a wilderness, or in a desert. You could not escape the environmental problem we are facing today. So since we could not escape it, each of us should find a way that individually we could help improve our environment. Now we use the use of fossil fuels like lead-free gasoline. This had been done many years ago, more than 50 years ago. Why? Because lead is a poison, okay? And the symptoms of this is discoloration of the gums, bluish stippling in blood cells, and the site of neurotoxic damage caused by lead. So here we find damage to our body systems. Now, lead was also added to paint to give it luster and strength. But children would pick up the flaking paint and eat the flakes and become poisoned by the lead content. So, in gasoline, lead content augments its properties with an increase in what? In pollution, especially if we inhale the fumes. So, the populace is being poisoned, and recognition of the cause of a problem often leads to a resolution. So, right now we have the environmental requirements by the government, but many of us could not just fulfill it. I think this was named the Clean Air Act. I don't know if it was some years ago. And in the Clean Air Act, there were issues like pneumonia, like heart diseases, and some other lung problems attributed to pollutants in the air, especially for those residing in the cities. So lead-free gasoline is now the norm, but then we really don't know, especially if cars and trucks have not been given a good tune-up. So what more? Here we find that even the destruction of a few trees, the dumping of some raw sewage into the river, all this may seem have a small impact, but when such isolated acts are multiplied by the millions, we could have what we call a destructive effect. And looking at the other concern that we are looking today, overpopulation. Now, lately, I think we are over 110 million Filipinos. Okay. Now, when we say overpopulation, that means to say a certain area of a country or a country itself and its mass or the land area could barely support a certain number of increase in births or the increase in the number of the population. So, environmental concerns like safe water, food, okay, then we have the utilities, all of these concerns are tied to what? To the environment, okay? So let's continue. Like pollutants, a single automobile, according to this topic, may emit what would be insignificant pollutants if it were the only vehicle on the world. But how many vehicles do we have? Oh, there are some homes. There are only 2 or 3 occupants, but there are more than 5 vehicles. Or maybe twice the number of the occupants. So right now, these vehicles, you could just imagine if there are 20 households and 10 of them have vehicles. And of those 10 households that have vehicles, the average could be 2. If on a single day, only 10 of those are on the road, could you imagine the pollution, the traffic? And many of these vehicles have only 1 occupant. Okay? So here, what are the further effects of overpopulation? So, it says here that the effects of overpopulation depend on the ratio of population to sustainable resources. So, food, water, clothing, okay, medicines, the number of hospitals, recreation centers, malls, and all of those. So here, it says your current projections incorporating projected declines in growth rates still predict a global population somewhere between 8 and 10.5 billion by the year 2050. The effects of overpopulation depend on the ratio of the population to sustainable resources as well as the distribution of such resources including water, clean air, clean water, food and shelter, and appropriate climatic conditions. Now, if you look at our world today, overpopulation often damages a nation's economy. So, some years ago, I read that almost more than 1 million Filipinos go to bed hungry every night. It means to say, a significant number of our population here in the Philippines could not eat a decent 3 meals a day, maybe 1 meal or a couple of meals. So overpopulation damages the economy. Okay? In what area? On how this bourgeois population be fed, where to purchase and import the food. Okay, the space needed for farms and forests and for waste disposal, for pure water, and many of these things are into consideration, like for example, the removal of garbage, of waste products, okay, and probably the way on how we handle these pollutions. Okay, so looking at the population, the lowest here in this graph are the Europeans, 2.66 to 1.49. The highest is Asia, South America, of course, Middle East and North America. So between 1950 and 2005, the number of children born per woman decreased from 5.02 to 2.65. Though even at all this rate, the global population continues to expand. By continent, the numbers for 1950 to 2005 have seen in the table, even at a single child per couple, the population is calculated to reach 10 billion before it would begin to decline. So here, we are actually 8 billion now. It may be the projection for 2050 may be quite far, but we know today that a lot of countries have problems with the population. For example, India. I think India surpassed China for the biggest number of population. The second concern is sustainable agriculture. So how do we improve our agriculture in order to mass produce for this ever-growing population? Okay? What more? Deforestation on a massive scale results in damage to the quality of the land. Now, we could not discuss all of this, but it says here, some 30% of the Earth's surface is still covered by forest. Large tracts of land are lost annually to deforestation. Now, we could not estimate the impact of deforestation, but some time ago we were visiting Davao, and we went to a park, and it says there that a single mature tree, the tree roots of a single mature tree could hold 250 gallons of water. Could you imagine that? 250 gallons of water. And when this tree is cut down, then you could just imagine the water that is supposed to be conserved by a single tree. How much more when it results into deforestation? When we talk about deforestation, a whole area is being devoid of trees. What more? The balance between our needs for forests and our need for food relates to the pressure of overpopulation. So, we would like to preserve our forests, but where do we grow our crops? We would like to grow our crops, but where do we put people so they could live in decent homes? So here are some of the concerns that not only are supposed to be addressed by us in this forum, or we could not address it at all, but these are political issues which today are haunting leaders throughout the world. How to provide a better environment for the countrymen. So here, food is not freely available to all. There are a lot of countries in the world that have overabundance of food, and still more countries who are in need of food. Poverty and the impact of climate change are felt much more acutely when drought and desertification are taking place. Many underdeveloped countries have an inadequate infrastructure to permit the proper distribution of food. Now, if a market produce could not reach the market right away, it becomes waste. Okay? So climate change, we could we find out today the climate of the world is, well, changing so fast, and we could not understand. Climate change could what? Could influence food production and some other things. It could also influence the development of diseases. So, how do we conserve energy? Okay? Well, we could discuss it for a long time, but the very important thing that we have to consider is what happens when fossil fuels run out? How do we commute? How do we ride our vehicles? Even though your vehicle is very advanced in technology, without fossil fuel or being an electric car, it could not run. So here, the next problem we have is the water pollution, which we find today very significant. And the third one here is air pollution. Now we live in the city, and we see hundreds, or maybe thousands of cars every day plying the city streets. So here we find that climate change is a very significant factor in water and air pollution. Now plastics, we find them in many places, almost anywhere. The oceans, the mountains, the parks, the subways, even in our homes, we find plastic, we use it. What is important with plastic is how are we able to what? How are we able to not pollute our world with plastics? Because we find today that plastics is not only found on land, but also dangerously found in oceans. Okay. So the third one here, hygiene as a fundamental health principle. Now, why is it that there are so many outbreaks of diseases? Why? Because our environment is contaminated. Secondly, because of poor hygiene. Okay? Poor hygiene. So polluted regions may not have immediate health problems, but in the long run. So here, how are we able to gauge whether our environment is healthy or not? Of course, some places, like children's asthma rates have increased. I read in an article about frogs. If in your place the frogs are dying, that means to say there's something wrong with the environment. Now we come to the sun. Many times, well, we need the sun to regulate our blood pressure, to make our bones strong. And our problem today in the climate change is the ozone layer. Maybe many of us could not understand the ozone layer. But it says here the sun is central to the provision of energy to our planet. Much of its radiation is important to well-being, but overexposure to ultraviolet radiation can be harmful. So, such radiation may be stronger should the ozone layers of the upper atmosphere be depleted. So here we find that since because of global warming, the ozone layer has become depleted. So it's dangerous now to stay longer in the sun. But vitamin D is a very important factor. So it kills bacteria. It is important for the control of the growth of cancers, such as prostate cancer, okay? And what more? Sunlight stimulates the production of serotonin. Serotonin is a hormone, okay, that helps us in our sleep. This is an example of the extreme environmental influence of our internal environment. So, when we are in countries that are plagued by, or that are in the colder regions, so they have less sunlight, and less sunlight results in what? In a disease described by Dr. Rosenthal as seasonal affective disorder. So here, we go to the internal environment. What is the internal environment? It is the metabolic processes inside our body. The question is, our bodies maintain a precise balance or equilibrium to the processes of homeostasis. Now, how are we able to maintain a very ideal or optimal internal environment? That's why our whole series of Quality Life Your Choice is about the healthy lifestyle. So it says here that we best support balance or homeostasis by a life that includes daily physical activity and a healthful diet rich in unrefined foods. Next very significant thing in environmental health is do not introduce toxins to our bodies. Now, we mentioned a while ago that not only are our external environment important, but also our internal environment. So significant here is what? Is exposure, especially of kids and the younger members of our society, to tobacco smoke. One of the most dangerous chemicals that could ever affect us is tobacco smoke, aside from the smoke from vehicles. Okay? There's still other substances like, for example, the chemicals in our house that we use for killing pests, we use for cleaning our toilets, we use for killing ants and other pests. These chemicals are very significant, which, when not handled properly, could be a deterrent to an ideal environment. Okay? So, according to our study today, it says here, we are stewards of the environment. Okay? So, what do you mean by environmental stewardship? Okay? Now, it says here, health, God's gift to us, is best maintained in the most natural and unpolluted and hygienic purity. We are stewards of the earth, responsible for managing the earth's resources and the environment of our bodies. Now, the question is, are we good stewards of our environment? Where do we throw our trash, our garbage? Where do we store these chemicals in our homes? How do we handle these poisons in our society? Like, for example, if you're a farmer, you have a lot of insecticides and some other chemicals. Are these chemicals stored properly? Are they handled only by qualified personnel? Are they not applied too much or overdosed whenever we do our fertilization of the agricultural areas? Okay, here, another area is too many of our homes are places of tension. Oh, wow. This is a good deviation from, we thought the environment we studied a while ago mentions about the air, okay, the temperature, the climate, the water. But here, the environment in the home. It says here, because we are more than mere physical beings and possess intellectual, emotional, and spiritual dimensions, we also need to consider the emotional and spiritual environments in which we live. Too many homes are places of tension and distrust. Anger and violence in the home will take an enormous toll on the health of our children and ourselves. Domestic violence affects many of our homes. Verbal abuses also is common. Our homes should provide an oasis of security and in a world of turmoil. Kind and supportive attitudes will nurture the emotional health of the family. Now, how is the atmosphere or the environment of your family? Is it a supportive environment? Is it a positive environment? Is it an environment that encourages everyone to express himself freely and not being censured or ridiculed or belittled or worse, or suppressed? Are our relationships with our spouses, our children, our neighbors ideal? So here, environmental health encompasses the external and the internal, and based on this slide, are interpersonal relationships. Okay? So, the spiritual environment of the home affects the environment of our minds. So, here, when we talk about the spiritual environment of our minds, our home should become comforting and supportive places. Values are taught and come from a basis of belief and trust. We place our trust to whom? To a loving God. We are secure in His care and teach our children the spiritual relationship with Him. We urge them to be loving and non-judgmental of others. God admonishes us to love our enemies and to do good to those who mistreat us. Now, if we live in an atmosphere of tolerance and peace, our spiritual environment will also be conducive to health. Okay? We will, as it were, drink of it in the fountain of life. The atmosphere of heaven will comfort our souls. We will secure as we ground ourselves in the certainty of God's love. Okay, as we come to the close of our study today, I hope that we have opened our minds to the realities of our environment. Are we contributing to the sustenance of the improvement of our environments or not? So, if we look today at our environments in our surroundings, we find so many challenges. We find so many inadequacies. And we find probably many things that we could say are not supposed to be done. Now, you and me have an obligation to keep our environments, not only the external but also the internal environments. So here, we have discussed about the external environment, the internal. We have also discussed about the relationships in the home, okay, and probably in our church. So, there are so many suggestions here on how are we able to improve our environment. Yes, if we are not able to improve our environment, like recycling, okay, reusing products that are still okay, cutting down on waste production. In fact, I read an article about encouraging us to recycle our clothes instead of buying new ones. As long as the clothes that you are wearing still could be worn. Many times, we change our wardrobes so often. And every time we change our wardrobe, we increase the pollution in our world. Okay? And then, in closing, as we look today at our environment, the question is, what choices can I make? Such as the way I use energy and plastics that will contribute, even in a small way, to protecting the environment. Again, let me tell you, each of us have a responsibility, like enabling our environment to remain green by taking advantage of a vegetarian or a plant-based diet, and the use of education for more informed choices, and supporting groups in our communities that reduce poverty and improve the quality of life. As we come to the close of our study today, I hope that a little of our eyes are opened to the environment, which is very important nowadays. Even though climate change and other issues could be overwhelming, again, you and me, in our own small way, could contribute to the improvement of our environment. To our viewers, to our listeners, and to everybody, a pleasant day to all of you. Until the next time, remember, quality life, your choice.
And for that very informative na topic po natin ngayong umaga. And mga kapaglaong, we hope and pray na marami po tayong natutunan. And especially po na in having a quality life, we should choose that environment na makakatulong po talaga sa atin externally, internally, even at home, and even at church. Maraming salamat po, and please catch again Dr. Glenn Maipa live next week, Tuesday, mga kapaglaom, here in Quality Life Your Choice. Maraming salamat, madamo gid nga salamat for joining us today. We hope and pray that you have enjoyed today's episode, and let us apply and ask God to give us the strength to apply this so we could be able to have a quality life, mga kapaglaom. Madamo gid nga salamat sa nag-share sang aton nga program, kag madamo man nga salamat mga kapaglaom sa padayon ninyo nga pagsuporta sa aton mga programa diri sa Hope Channel Western Visayas. Ang Quality Life Your Choice, live every Tuesday at 10 a.m. with this month, for the whole month of August, we will be having Dr. Glenn Maipa. And for the next month, our family doctor will come in. Dr. Virginia Talion will be joining us. So please catch us again live, mga kapaglaom. And we also would like to send our greetings and regards to Tita Mai, who is with us, to kapaglaom Perla Paharito, kapaglaom Joy Basea Torre, kapaglaom Gemma Rondina, kapaglaom Orvin Maranyon, kapaglaom Manang Jessa Padasas, Yanyan Isulan, and the rest. Ma'am Lani Islabon for joining us today. Thank you for sending your star support as well to continue nga mag-progress ang aton nga Hope Channel Western Visayas. Sa liwat, madamo gid nga salamat, kag mga kapaglaom, always remember that a healthy lifestyle is the cheapest way to provide yourself the best medical health care. Consider taking baby steps towards a healthy behavior change, because having a disease can lead to crisis and potential disaster. See you all to the next episode of Quality Life, Your Choice.